welcome back to another video about probability. So today we're talking about sampling and specifically what that means when you're talking about probability and why it is important. So we have a bunch of vocabulary terms and I'm going to go ahead and put them up here so that you can see them all. We're going to start with survey. A survey is just a way to gather information. You might have a survey at like a doctor's office, or even like if you go to a sporting event, they might hand out a survey about your favorite kind of snack or something so they know what to sell. Data is the facts or numbers that are gathered from a survey. So if you're at that sporting event, maybe your data point, your fact would be that you like Doritos best. That might be your favorite kind of snack. The population is everyone that was selected to give their information, to give their 2 cents. The census, though, is every single person. So a population could be just a class in your school, but a census would be every single person in your school. You might have heard your parents talking about the census. We had the 2020 US Census. The United States takes a census pretty often to kind of see how much you're earning every year, how much, like if you're single or if you're married, what your race is, what your religion is, just so that they can kind of get a feel as to what is going on out there in the big country and just kind of see what's going on. So they know where they can put their dollars best and where it would best work for us. So you might have heard census pretty often recently. Now population and parameter go together pretty closely. So I'm going to draw an arrow connecting those two because those are super important. I always remember it because population and parameter both start with a P. Parameter is just a way to characterize the population. So going back to that example about the class in the school, your parameter would be Miss Billings' class or Mr. Smith's class. Whereas the population would be, I don't know, Jackson Elementary School or something. I don't know, I just came up with that. A sample is just a portion of the whole. So a sample would be, if we go back to the survey with the favorite snacks, a sample would be, 20 people like Doritos and 10 people like hot dogs best. Whereas a statistic would be characterizing that. A random sample is what's super duper important, especially when you're talking about surveys. If you're not doing a census, you want to be having some kind of random sample going on so that you can make sure that it's completely representative of the whole. You want to make sure that whatever survey was conducted represents you the most, because a random sample offers a chance for every single person to be selected as part of the survey. So we're going to kind of see what this looks like. We're going to do 2 different kinds of samples and see if they are random or not and whether they are representing the whole. So we are going to be looking at U.S. presidents today and how old they were when they were inaugurated. Now if you don't know what inauguration means, that means when the president is elected. So they're elected in November, but they're inaugurated into office. That's when they actually become the president in like January. So we're going to look at the ages of each of the presidents at inauguration. And we want to know kind of what the representative age is of all of the presidents. Now there are 45 U.S. presidents. And we want to know just roughly kind of what the ages are. So I have a list over here that tells me the ages of all of the presidents. We're going to look at 2 different ways of sampling to see which is more representative and which works a little bit better. So, the first way is not going to be super hard for me to pull any information from. Let's see, where is that list? Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is the first 10 presidents of the United States. So, first 10 presidents were George Washington. He was 57 when he was inaugurated. We have John Adams. He was 61. Thomas Jefferson was 57. James Madison was 57. James Monroe was 58. John Quincy Adams was 57. Andrew Jackson was 61. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Martin Van Buren was 54. William Henry Harrison was 68. And John Tyler was 51. So those were the first 10. So now let's see what the average of that is. What is the mean? If you don't remember how to find the mean, you're just adding up all the numbers and dividing by how many numbers are there. So in this case, you'll add all these up and divide it by 10. Okay, so when you add them all up, you get 581. But when you divide it by 10, you get just a little over 58. So we'll round it down to 58 years old. So we're going to say that the average age, you can also call it the mean, average age is 58. Alright, let's see a different way to do this. So now to find the average, we added them all up and then we divided by 10 because that's how many we had. So when you add them all up, you get 534. So when we divide that by 10, you get a little bit over 53. So we're going to call it 53. So now we're going to say that the average age is 53. Well, that's just a little bit different than our first 10. Apparently they were older than every fourth president because their average age was 58. So now, what can we say? I mean, they can't both be true. Well, I'll tell you that I did a little bit of work ahead of time, and the average age of all 45 U.S. presidents is 55. That's our goal. That's the true average of all 45 U.S. presidents. So now if we look at this, 58, that's 3 years away from 55. 53 is only 2 years away from 55. So 53 is closer than 58 is. So now, when we're using every fourth U.S. president, that made it closer to our true average. It was a more representative sample because it allowed every single person the equal opportunity to be selected instead of just the first 10 presidents. This tells us a few things. The first 10 presidents were older, because if we look down here, we had several presidents who were in their 40s, but if we look over here, the first 10, none of them were in their 40s. So that tells us a little bit of something. And we can also see that when we take a representative sample of everyone, it allows us to get closer to what the true data is. And that's the point of random sampling, is just to be as close as possible without taking a census of every single person. So that is a little bit of information on sampling and drawing inferences. It'll connect a little bit with probability here in the future, but for now we're going to stick with just this, the basics. So if you have any questions, drop them below in the comments, and thank you for watching.